Okay, so I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to talk about the power of visuals when you want to see math differently. So I'm Nina Gasking. I'm an outreach officer, which is a job title that sounds a lot more worrying than it really is, because all it means is that I do outreach professionally every day. And I do it in a place based in Lyon that is called the Maison des Mathématiques et de l'Informatique, translates to the home or the house of math and computer science. So we're a centre that is dedicated to math and computer science outreach, and we're part of the university, and our speciality is to do activities for school students from ages like 8 to 18. And we really like, a bit like you can see on the pictures, to have hands-on activities and to get people to do things. So my job at the MMI is to create and imagine and organize all sorts of outreach activities, events, anything really. And when I do that, I try to always keep in mind two different goals. The first one is to get people to see math differently, and the other one is to get people to be as curious as possible, especially, as I said, I do work with school students, so that's not always very easy. Because I don't think that will come to, I mean, it's not surprising for anyone when I say that school teenagers usually don't really like math, and if anything, they think that it's quite stressful. And what I like to think is to be able to have, to do this, to do these goals, I like to imagine that you can just maybe try and find a different point of entry for them, because their main point of entry is going to be school, which is great, but if you can offer different points of entry, that's a lot more interesting for them. And one of those is exactly what we're talking about. So it can be art or design or aesthetics or visuals, call it whatever you want. I'm going to put it all in one point. And so in my job, I work a lot with researchers. I also work with other people that do outreach. And I do work with artists, or at least people that have a creative job. And I wanted to go through 3 examples of things I've done and try and explain what's the art. I'm not sure it's really art every time, but something visual and artistic, and how I wanted to get people to feel something so that they could go into this different point of view. So the first example is trying to get people in awe. So this might sound a bit pretentious, but if you can see underneath, it's just written getting people in awe with bubbles. So suddenly, hopefully, it isn't as pretentious. This is an activity that we do with 16 to 18-year-olds. It lasts a little over an hour. And we start the activity by literally blowing bubbles. And even a 16-year-old will smile when you blow a bubble, because everyone does. And very quickly in the activity, we give them all these different structures and shapes that they can dip in, like a soapy water mix. I don't know if you've ever done this, you might have done. And you get something a little like this. So it's actually quite hard to do nice pictures. But you can have a bubble that nearly looks like a cube. And usually people's reaction is exactly like that person on the bottom left, who looks far too happy when he's looking at just some soap. I'm well aware these are not teenagers, but I don't have pictures of teenagers doing the activity. But this is exactly how they react. So they'll be doing it over and over, and they want to try and see what's happening. And they're always really excited. They always say, can we please take loads of pictures? Are we allowed to have our phone? Because they just want to remember, because obviously it doesn't last for that long. It will pop eventually. But they can do it over and over. And what they're actually doing is they're creating these tiny, I see it that way, these tiny little soap sculptures that they are actually making. And so they will have loads of questions, and they get really curious about it. And once you've done that, once they're interested, it is so easy to talk about the math, to explain what's behind it. Obviously not, not going to spend hours talking about it, but they actually want to understand. They actually want the answers, because they did start asking loads of questions. So here is the idea of, if you get them to do something and they are creating something, they're going to actually be a lot more interested to listen to you when you're trying to explain what's interesting about it. Yeah. My second example is getting people involved. So this is completely different. Here it's with the idea of scenography. So this is maybe a little bit closer to craftsmanship than art, but I think it's just as important. So we always have an exhibition at the MMI, and at the moment we have this one. It's called Dans ma cuisine, in my kitchen. And I'll give you like a tiny few pictures of what it looks like. And so, maybe you've never been to the MMI, but the exhibition is one of the first things you see when you come in. So it's like the first visual information the students will get, and I think it's really important because they will already decide if they think they're going to have, if they think it's going to be nice or not nice, because they're usually very worried because there is the word math and computer science in the place they go into. And so when we're creating exhibitions, there's obviously a lot of work, scientific work and outreach work, but I'm not going to talk about that at all. There's something else that people sometimes forget or don't think is as important. It's the whole actual designing of it and working with the scenographer and graphic designers and all the people that actually physically make it. Because there's a lot of work and decisions you have to make about colors, textures, materials, how high, how deep, how are people standing, are people sitting, etc. And all that designing is going to have a real impact on the visitor because it's going to change the way they behave, what they do, what they understand, and what they're going to take away from what you're trying to offer. And that's something I sometimes struggle to explain, especially to researchers, because, and it might sound harsh, but no matter how interesting your idea is, the way you're going to present it, you know, some people are just not going to be interested if it's not, if you haven't thought about the way you're going to present it. Obviously, someone who loves math might, but, you know, I'm talking about 14-year-olds who did not want to come. So it's really, really important. And it's really important when you can to work with people that have the right skill sets and that actually know what they're doing. And my last example is trying to get people captivated, so this time with illustration. So this is a very recent project that I did with a scientific illustrator called Liz Irman. And we've done a series of very short animated videos. The first one came out last week, so you can go and watch it on our YouTube channel. I don't have time to show you. And it was a really different project for me because I am used to having people come and being able to explain things and getting them to touch stuff. And there I had to face the fact that people were going to be a lot more passive just watching this video, and I couldn't control what they were going to understand or do. So I couldn't show the video, but here are just a few snapshots of the video. I'll let you imagine what the theme is. Hopefully you can understand. And so my work, I worked with a researcher, a mathematician, Olivier Drouet, and we worked on the kind of the science side, so decided what theme and what message we wanted, why were we doing these videos, and Lise had the much harder job of trying to find a storyline, create characters, and she also painted most of this by hand, so she's a very patient person. And she really wanted to add this kind of I don't know, sensitive and a bit more touching and very handmade texture, because for her that was something that was really not associated to math. So that was her design choice. And I think that by doing that, you know, when someone's watching the video, they kind of go into this mini little universe, and if they decide that they like it, they're hopefully going to watch until the end, because everything that's been said in the video could have just been an article, but it's going to be a completely different thing when you add this whole visual and this storyline and this character who's literally talking to you, and you see what's happening to the character. So once again, very important to work with people that are qualified, because I cannot do that at all. Just looking. Oh. Yeah, so with these 3 examples, I just wanted to say that it's important to take a lot of time to think and to work through what you're going to do, and to work with the right people that have the right skill sets, because they're the ones who are going to help you to get people to see math differently, hopefully. And that's it. Thank you very much.